Welcome to the latest edition of Beyond the Arc. I'm John Gonzalez alongside our NBA insider, Bill Ryder, who comes to us live from Denver. You're warmer today than you were yesterday, I hope?
I'm colder. You know what? You and I both live in LA. Most people watching right now don't care because it's winter, but you and I'm soft. It's 9 degrees outside. I'm not made for this life, John.
Yeah, I've lived in LA for almost 10 years now. And for a long time, I didn't have a coat. And I would frequently forget that when you go other places, they do have winter. So make sure that you bundle up out there and stay warm. You're off to the All-Star game later. What, today? You're leaving today?
Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow. Okay. We're going to have all kinds of all-star conversation later in the week. Later in today's show, we're going to discuss Jimmy Butler. You're going to the Bay Area. He looks to be fitting in quite well there with the Warriors. The commissioner has named his all-star replacements for Giannis and AD. We'll discuss whether or not he got that right. We'll do a little team of the night. But first, Bill, Luka. Lakers had a blowout win versus the Jazz last night. He played 24 minutes. He was on a minutes restriction. He had 14 points and 5 rebounds and 4 assists. I thought he made some really good plays. He looked a little rusty shooting. My ultimate takeaway was, who cares? This is going to be a lot of fun.
So you like to make fun of me, John, on the podcast that I'm the senior vibes reporter on top of I'm going to lean into my vibes role here. You're right. He was inefficient. He looked rusty. We'll talk about it. When he walked out in that Lakers jersey, it's not that I didn't know he was a Laker. Obviously, we knew, but it sort of washed over me. It hit me full force. This is going to be amazing. Just him as a Laker is incredible. And even though he hasn't played since Christmas, and it showed. I thought he and LeBron deferred to each other a little bit too much, right? You go. But there were moments where you just see their basketball IQ connecting as if they almost shared a brain. The two things that really struck me is this is going to be magical for LA fans and a nightmare forever for Mavericks fans, and it's going to work. He and LeBron are going to work so well, so quickly once Luka sort of gets back up to form.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on LeBron and he fitting together nicely. And they were deferring to each other. Like there was one play where LeBron had a long, like almost full court outlet pass where he tried to fit it into Luka on a break. And obviously like that wasn't the best idea. And they were both like, my bad at the same time. But to the point about them sharing a basketball brain, the first bucket for the Lakers was LeBron on a lob to Jackson Hayes. And the second bucket for the Lakers was Luka on a lob to Jackson Hayes. And I was like, yeah, these guys are going to fit just fine together. But let's talk about that nightmare and also the vibes here, right? So the whole arena, everybody got a 77 Luka t-shirt. They were all rocking it. Everybody was having a good time. And then I'm watching this whole thing. I'm enjoying the vibes. And the camera cuts to somebody that just blew me away. I almost fell off my chair. Dirk was at the game, Bill. If you're a Mavs fan and I'm sure you didn't watch it. The Mavs were playing last night. We can get into that in a second. The whole protest thing that's still happening there. It's every game is an absolute mutiny in Dallas. But Dirk Nowitzki, the greatest player in Mavs history, the guy that you would say who embodies the franchise the most, and it's Dirk, and he was there. And I just was blown away.
Yeah.
This isn't the same thing because like the situation was different and whatever. But I was thinking to myself, when Allen Iverson got traded to the Nuggets, if Dr. J had shown up in Denver, people would have lost their minds.
It is a statement, and my jaw dropped when they showed Dirk. My jaw, but it shouldn't have been because this is an ownership group in Dallas, and there are going to be all kinds of ways for us to remind people about the debacle that they have wrought upon their fan base and their team. But we should have known this was coming because they cut Mark Cuban out of the process. They did not include him in the decision-making. They really went against his wishes. And we know this because Mark Cuban has made it known, John. I had nothing to do with this. Wasn't me. And so, of course, the people we associate with the Mavs and their glory years and that define them are put out and are angry and probably feel like, you know what, I'd rather go celebrate Luka. Luka Doncic being a Laker is one thing. Dirk and Cuban and everybody else over the years basically showing up. This is the beginning of this for Lakers game because they love Luka and they didn't give him away and Luka didn't want to leave. And he's kind of going to be, that connection's going to remain and it's going to transfer some of that love for guys like Dirk and Cuban, I think, to the Lakers, or at least support for Luka, which means the Lakers. It is insult to injury of the stupidity or silliness or whatever we want to call it of this trade that's going to be. This ain't going away for Mavs fans.
Yeah, it was the symbolism there was so powerful. It was such a big statement. Luka was asked about Dirk being at the game. Here's what Luka had to say about it.
A lot, man. Just for him to show up, great friend, always looked up to him, a great mentor. So for him to show up, fly all the way from Dallas was amazing, and I really, really appreciate it.
He really, really appreciates it, Bill. But also, isn't it kind of like a rebuke of Mavs ownership and also Nico Harrison that I just think there could not have been a bit without Dirk getting in front of a camera and giving an interview and being like, what are they doing? I think it was a massive indictment.
I mean, and look, I'll see your AI and I'll raise you Kobe Bryant. Because the thing about Dirk is he won a championship there, and he sort of broke that inability for the Mavs to do it, and obviously got revenge against the Heat because he had lost to Dwayne Wade and company, and then when LeBron showed up, Dirk and company were able to get it. So this is your champion. This is it's a rebuke of ownership. It's a rebuke of the Mavs, and Jason Kidd didn't show up for his post-game press conference yesterday, or didn't stick around to do it. I mean, the ill will, the vibes of this is my lane, John. You don't have to read too much into it. These aren't hot takes. This is a heartbroken, angry, frustrated Mavs family, and you're talking everybody except ownership and maybe Nico Harrison. And this stuff isn't funny, and it's unacceptable that Mavs fans have gone to this place, but the GM of the Mavs can't go to one game, has to sit in a different place in the other game. Now the Mavs are kicking people out of games because they're mouthing work. I can't think of a more dysfunctional reaction to a dysfunctional sports move in any sport, NBA or beyond, in my time covering professional sports.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. So while this is happening last night, or I guess slightly later because the Lakers tipped off at 7:30 Pacific, but the Mavs had a game last night. And the first game after Luka left, Anthony Davis played really well, but there's a big protest outside, and clearly Mavs fans weren't happy. You thought, okay, well, maybe it would cool down a little bit. Bill, it did not cool down. Last night, ton of people with signs, fire Nico. As you mentioned, there were a whole bunch of ejections. One guy was caught on the Jumbotron mouthing fire Nico. He got ejected. After all these ejections, people were booing as Mavs fans were being escorted out. I thought it was very thin-skinned look by
Me too.
The Mavs front office, by ownership, that hey, you did this, you made this bet, and now you're also tossing your fans out of the building. I thought it was pretty ridiculous. It's not a good look for the Mavs right now.
It is amateur hour, and it reflects the amateuristic, I think, view that led to them moving Luka Doncic. We're still trying to get details and figure it out. By the way, ownerships come out, and instead of just saying, right, as the most important voice in an organization, and owners tend not to talk very often. Obviously, in Dallas, they're kind of used to it because Cuban was a little more vocal and was around. But you're supposed to have a level of professionalism and business acumen. And in a situation like this, it has to be some version of, we wish Luka well. We understand people are frustrated, but we think this is going to work out. The lack of professionalism from ownership. I thought Nico Harrison's press conference was bizarre, and it's almost childlike giddiness, as if he was trying to explain how he got his hand caught in the cookie jar. The way that, to your point, you're kicking fans out who paid for tickets, they're obviously going to boo. Go out there and win games, and maybe they'll move on. I'm with you. This reflects, I think, or maybe just enhances the perspective we all have, and I think it's the right one, that this Mavs organization, under this ownership group and this decision making, they are a joke, and their response to their mistake remains a joke.
It's made, obviously, Mavs fans very angry. Hard for Luka not to notice all this. We've all noticed it. He noticed it as well. He also talked about the fan reaction in his post-game presser last night. Here's what he said.
I mean, yeah, I saw the fans. Obviously, I really appreciate it. I've been there almost 7 years, and it was amazing to experience those friends and the love for me. I will always appreciate that. But now I think we should focus on the next step, and the way Lakers fans received me here was amazing.
See, now, Bill, that I thought was the high road. He acknowledged it. He gave them credit. And then he's like, hey, I'm a Laker now. I'm going to move on. He basically knows that Mavericks ownership and Nico Harrison have self-immolated on this thing. And he's just going to let them burn over here. And he's going to go, thank you so much. And I appreciate the fans. And I thought that was a very good look for him when juxtaposed against not such a good look for the Mavs.
Especially when they basically called him a problem, lazy, doesn't put they called him unprofessional. And you're right, he's out there. And he's got the little smirk, though, because he knows, and this is what is amazing to me that the Mavs are missing. They obviously thought this was the right decision for whatever reasons. And this is a Frank Sinatra quote, and I love it. The best revenge is massive success. And Luka Doncic looked like a guy at that post-game press conference who understands whether it's this year with LeBron or maybe the next few years with LeBron or the years ahead after LeBron or some combination thereof. Luka knows that he's going to continue to be successful. And I think he probably knows that Dallas is unlikely to be based on how they're running the decision-making. And I think you can just kind of see, and you're right, his professional response, but the joy that he has. Like, look, guys, you did this. I'm going to win. You're going to lose. I will let my basketball do the talking.
Yeah, so far, it looks like massive win for Luka, massive win for the Lakers, massive win for all of us who get to watch LeBron and Luka play basketball together. Unfortunately, a terrible L for Mavs fans. I feel really bad for them. Let's take a quick break because you alluded to something with Mavs ownership and how they handled it. And Patrick Dumont, their majority owner, made some very interesting comments earlier this week that threw a whole bunch of gasoline on the fire. We'll talk about that as well as where the Lakers go from here basketball-wise on the other side. That's coming up. This is Beyond the Arc on CBS Sports Network. Welcome back to Beyond the Arc. Just a reminder, you can get us wherever you get your favorite podcast. Please download, subscribe, leave a review, and then on Spotify, if you look below the play button on the Spotify app in full screen mode, you can leave us a comment or a question about the show. All right, Bill, you mentioned the Mavs and ownership and how they have, I guess, put their thumb on the scale here. The new Mavs majority owner, their governor, is Patrick Dumont, who is decidedly not Mark Cuban. The way to handle this would have been something like, we love Luka, we wish him all the best, but we've decided to go in a different direction. Instead, he did something much different, Bill. Here's the first part of his quote. He said, if you look at the greats in the league, the people you and I grew up with, Jordan, Bird, Kobe, Shaq, they worked really hard every day and with a singular focus to win. And if you don't have that, it doesn't work. And if you don't have that, you shouldn't be part of the Dallas Mavericks. Bill, a couple of things here. Why don't you take this? We mentioned this on yesterday's show. The Shaq inclusion was something that stood out for a lot of people.
All right, full disclosure, I like Shaq like we all do. I think he's great. Mm-hmm. I've been lucky enough to be a hangers-on on a couple dinners with Shaq and a couple finals. Super nice guy. Picks up the check. Shaq probably doesn't remember me, but thank you, Shaq. I'm the guy that ordered the expensive bottle of wine when I figured that's what was happening. Shaq is the epitome. He is the example. He is the case study that, in fact, there are some talents over the course of NBA history who are so good that if they're difficult or if they don't condition the way they're supposed to, or if I'm talking to you, Pat Riley, maybe think about attacking one of their coaches every now and then. The juice is worth the squeeze. This is part of the deal. The fact that this guy included Shaq on the list, A, means he doesn't know anything about basketball. B, means he's insulting Luka Doncic, just reaching for great names. And C, means he is missing the point of the actual person he shouldn't have put in that list. Shaq is proof that if the worries they have about Luka are true, who knows, right? It doesn't matter. There are guys that are just the example that not every rule should be followed. Shaq was one, and Luka Doncic is clearly another.
Yeah, this definitely felt like new rich guy owner doesn't really totally know the NBA, and he's going to try to lay down the law here. And a lot of people have made this point. I'm going to piggyback off of it. If you're going to rattle off a list of people who do it the right way, one of them just showed up in LA last night to support your guy, to support Luka. It's Dirk Nowitzki. He's got a giant statue outside of the Mavs arena as he's shooting his signature fadeaway that says loyalty never fades away. And you didn't even mention that guy.
You know the meme from The Boys where the basically evil Superman character realizes that they're cheering for him, and it's basically used now of this somewhere Matt Ishbia is just, I'm not the owner who doesn't know what he's doing. This is Matt Ishbia is like the other winner of this trade.
And our viewers are winners. I did not anticipate a Homelander reference on today's program. Nicely done by you. Bill, Patrick Dumont did not stop there. He decided one foot in his mouth was not enough. He crammed the other one right into his face. He continued with this quote, Bill. He said, that's who we want. I'm unwavering on this. This is how I operate outside of basketball. This is the only way to be competitive and win. If you want to take a vacation, don't do it with us. Bill, that last part is, look, this guy just took you to the finals last year. They got beaten by one of, I mean, the Celtics last year were the best team in the NBA. Despite the fact that they had an easy road through the Eastern Conference, they were considerably better than the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks, however, went through a gauntlet in the Western Conference, and Luka was a large reason why they got there. And this guy was like, nah, I'm going to kick him on his way out the door.
3 takeaways. 1, Matt Ishbia is the big winner in NBA owner power rankings. Again, I mean, just doubles down on this. 2, and we're not the early edge. Those are the experts, but I am taking the over every time Luka plays the Mavs for the rest of his life. And they could set that number at 44.5. Luka is going to punish. Like, it's one thing to break his heart. It's another thing to make an enemy of Luka. You play in the same conference, and presumably you have aspirations to be excellent. So then the third thing is, and it's speculative, and I don't have any reporting on this, but I'm not sure that Nico Harrison deserves the benefit of the doubt. But let me just sort of move forward a little bit. Conversations we've had on the pod before. What Harrison did, the GM of the Mavs, it's inexplicable. It doesn't make sense. And while I'm not absolving him of responsibility, it's very clear from these comments that ownership at a minimum was on board. And it's hard to know if maybe the tail was wagging the dog here. And so I don't know, but if you're Nico Harrison and you brought this to ownership and they go, yeah, this is great. We don't want him. Okay, it's still on Nico. But there's certainly a world where ownership, for a variety of other reasons that have nothing to do with basketball, or to your point, this is a shiny new rich guy, have a shiny toy, I don't know how this works. Ownership's responsibility and culpability in this trade, I think, needs to be considered more than maybe we did a week ago, because they're doubling down on these silly reasons for trading away a generational talent.
Yeah, I think that on the one hand, if you're Patrick Dumont and you want to say that we support Nico Harrison and we believe in him, fine. That's okay. You can do that, right? In the same way that you say we wish Luka well, but we're going in a different direction. This is a totally different thing. This wasn't just I'm standing behind Nico Harrison. This is I am going to light myself on fire. And like, at what point does somebody not just go to him and say, hey man, read the room. Our fans are protesting outside. People are losing their minds here. You not only just traded the face of the franchise, one of the 2 most beloved players in Mavericks history, but you are also the new owner coming after a guy who is similarly loved in Mark Cuban. Like, are you trying to be the villain of du jour, like the guy who everybody hates? I don't understand this thinking at all.
And bookmark for later, whenever today or whatever we talk about, it feels like at least a step in the Timberwolves ownership situation being resolved. The thing about new ownership, and this has been true in Phoenix with Ishbia, it's obviously true now with the Mavs, is you don't know what these owners are going to do to your organization or franchise until they get into those jobs. And as you and I discussed yesterday, you can fire Nico Harrison, or you can reward him if we're all wrong and he's right. You can move on from players, right? LeBron James is amazing. Someday he's not going to be able to play in the league. There's going to be the next guy up. Now it's Luka Doncic. You're stuck with these owners. And the Suns got a new owner, and Matt Ishbia has been a disaster. He's taken a wrecking ball to that organization. And it felt like there wasn't another owner that could come in if you were taking bets and put his franchise in a worse position. And this ownership group said, hold my beer. Because to your point, the problem isn't just that Doncic is gone. That's a major problem. Or that this guy is insulting Luka Doncic and acting like an amateur. It's they are telling us, to quote Bill Parcells, who was quoting Maya Angelou, people tell you who they are. Listen, they're telling us who they are. You can't pull out of the tailspin you put yourself in if this is how you think about basketball and running a team.
They've decided to actively wage war on their fan base. I just don't understand it at all. One more quick thing, and then eventually we are going to talk about actual basketball here. But somebody mentioned this on Blue Sky, and I wanted to run it past you because it feels like a conversation that we would have. Do you believe in sports curses? Because this is shaping up to be the curse of Luka Doncic. So AD goes in his first game. He looks amazing, then gets hurt. Gafford got injured last night. They have no bigs at all. They were in a knife fight with the Kings last night, had a chance to win that game, ended up blowing it when the Kings were basically handing it to them in overtime. And then on top of that, as I mentioned, Patrick Dumont has decided to just pick a fight with the fans who actively hate him.
Yes, I'm an irrational sports fan. I'm a Cubs fan who believed that a Billy Goat not going to Wrigley was there. And the only reason I was at this World Series, the only reason that the Cubs have a World Series in my lifetime is because they played an equally cursed organization, that poor Cleveland baseball team. So do I believe in curses? Yes. And as I think I said to you on HQ the other day, the curse of the Bambino, I'm really pushing, and I want us to trademark the curse of the Browbino. Trading for the brow is the new. I know you love it. It's
That's very funny.
I mean, yeah. There's a karma thing. I mean, how do you explain AD getting hurt, Gafford getting hurt, all the things that have happened? I do believe in sport. Irrational though it is, I do believe in them, yes.
I want to say to Mavs fans watching that we're on your side. This is a safe space. Consider this like a self-support help group. Come and listen to us because we don't like this any more than you do. We're going to take a quick break. And then on the other side, we actually are going to talk about basketball. We have to talk about the Lakers, how they've been on a heater, how good they look, where they go from here. And then, as I mentioned, Jimmy Butler has looked like a very nice addition to the Golden State Warriors. We'll do all of that on the other side. This is Beyond the Arc on CBS Sports Network. All right, welcome back to Beyond the Arc. In the midst of all this Luka drama, Bill, before and after the trade, the Lakers have been playing really good basketball. They beat the Jazz last night. No great shakes. However, they have won 6 in a row and 10 of 11. The last 4 games, they've had leads of 20 or more points. They're a season high 12 games over 500. They just passed my Houston Rockets, RIP, for 4th place in the Western Conference, and they're only a game and a half back of the Nuggets for 3rd place. Bill, a lot of that, and by the way, the Nuggets are the only team that has a longer win streak in the NBA right now than the Lakers. A lot of that win streak came obviously without Luka, and while Anthony Davis was hurt, and their only serviceable center on their team right now is Jackson Hayes. Are the Lakers good? I think the Lakers might be good.
Yeah, I think they are. I know that when the trade went through, they went from whatever they were to the 40-1 to 16-1 to come out of the West, and 13 or third best odds to sort of be that team that can emerge. I'm in. And by the way, how funny is it, John, that Hayes now I think he was 6 for 6 last night. It's like it's just the easiest buckets he looks like a legitimate center. The thing that struck me last night, and you're right, they were already playing well. They were doing it without AD. Credit to the Lakers for going on a run. The thing that really hit me last night that I suppose shouldn't have surprised me, I knew that Luka plus LeBron was going to be really good. What I think had forgotten or underestimated until I saw it on the floor, even though Doncic was really rusty and only hit, I think, one of his 7 3-point shots, the gravity he commands, and we usually talk about gravity like, Steph Curry, right? Just the attention that you have to get. It was amazing to watch, to see it when LeBron's on the floor, to see the gravity he commanded in a way that AD just never did, and how easy I think the game is going to be for LeBron James when Luka Doncic is on the floor. I guess I thought of it the other way around, that, wow, this is going to be so easy for this pair, and Luka's going to have – it's the other way. At 40 years old, LeBron's going to get to expel less energy. He's going to get easier buckets. He's going to find Luka for easy buckets. Just I'm not sure outside of Steph Curry how many guys in the NBA command the same sort of attention, the gravity that he creates on the floor like Luka Doncic, and seeing that with LeBron and knowing they're going to get in rhythm eventually and that Luka's going to get where he needs to go. I'm actually more bullish on the Lakers this year than I had been when the trade went through. Look, are they better than the Thunder? No. Are they on the same level as every other team in the West outside of the Thunder? The ones that are sort of in the pecking order next, I think they are, the deficiencies notwithstanding.
Yeah, I'd throw them in there with the Nugs and the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies, it really depends on Ja. And obviously everything Nuggets related goes through Joker. But now the Lakers have Luka and LeBron. And yeah, you're right. I mean, Luka's going to make it so much easier for LeBron. Yeah, those two guys making Jackson Hayes look like a really good NBA basketball player last night. All he has to do is go throw down lobs. No problem. Jackson Hayes can pull that off. I was a little curious about, what are they going to do with their starting lineup? They went with Luka, LeBron, Rui, Austin Reeves, and Jackson Hayes. I think that's probably what it's going to be. And it appears to me that when Jackson Hayes is not on the floor, you're going to get a lot of small ball lineups last night they were doing a lot of Dorian Finney-Smith and Jared Vanderbilt combos, a little bit of, point center LeBron. It looks like Rui might get a couple of minutes, basically patchwork center backup minutes when Jackson Hayes isn't out there. And then I guess maybe you go and look for somebody on the buyout market, but there could be worse things. If the problem here is that they don't have a backup center or even really a starting center because of the Mark Williams trade falling through, but you have Luka, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and look, so matchups are going to be really significant in sort of what the Lakers can or can't do. And to your point, the defensive liabilities they have, and the fact Jackson Hayes is great throwing down the lobs, but outside of that, and sort of the other end of the court, when they play a team like Denver, and Denver's always had their number even when AD was there, there's going to be some problems. But if the Lakers got the right matchups, and they made a run to the conference finals like they did a few years ago when they were, if memory serves, a play-in team, or even if they get to the second round this year and they play whoever, some good team, 6-7 games really tough, it's going to feel like building towards something inevitably great in LA. Whereas let's say AD comes back and is healthy and they do something like second round, play tough, and they go out, everyone's going to say, well, we're in the finals last year, you idiots. It's everything about what the Lakers are building and how I think we're going to view it is going to be positive because it's the start of something.
It's the start of something. And I'm glad you brought that up, that, they're building something for the future, that it's going to be fun this year, but then this offseason and moving forward, we'll see what other additions they make, because the Mark Williams trade fell through. And you and I discussed this on yesterday's program, but I think it's important to repeat here. They end up now getting that 2031 first round pick back and the 2030 pick swap. So they might have dodged a bullet a little bit on Mark Williams, who, by the way, Bill, so this trade gets rescinded. The Lakers give him the physical. You and I like Mark Williams a lot, but he's had a lot of injury issues. He's missed 105 out of 211 possible games in his career. He gets shipped back to Charlotte. Charlotte puts out a statement saying, hey, we welcome back Mark Williams. We always wanted him to be part of the team. And then, Bill, they go to the commissioner and the league and they complain. Evidently, there was a statement here that they are, quote, exploring options to dispute the Lakers' failed physical assessment of Mark Williams, and they are weighing avenues to challenge it. So even though they said they like Mark Williams back, now all of a sudden they kind of don't want the trade to be rescinded and they'd rather Mark Williams play in LA than in Charlotte. I mean, it doesn't seem to me like they believe in Mark Williams' health either.
No, and this is bizarre and sort of pathetic. The only analogy I could come up with is if your high school girlfriend broke up with you, John, and you decided to go to her dad and ask him to overrule and make her go to the high school prom with you. Adam Silver's, they're not, I mean, look, I don't know. This is unprecedented. The people I've texted, I don't know. This doesn't make any sense. The NBA is not going to overrule and force the Lakers to consummate this trade. And I saw on social media, which means it has to be true, right? It must be true that the team doctor for the Lakers had been a long-time NBA league employee, so he has relationships with some of the people who'd be making these decisions. It's just, and this just, to your point, I think speaks to how much they did not want Mark Williams on that team and the degree to which they felt like they had done really well in a trade where they had been widely mocked by a lot of NBA Twitter, a lot of NBA X, and a lot of NBA Blue Sky. So it's just in the bizarro of all bizarro NBA trade deadlines, the weirdness just keeps. This is supposed to end after the trade deadline. Last Thursday, 3 Eastern, whatever it was. The weirdness and madness is supposed to stop, and it just keeps on keeping on.
It has not stopped. I mean, how bad does Mark Williams' health have to be for the Lakers, who are desperate to find a good athletic big to put on the floor and be a lob threat? Apologies again to Jackson Hayes with Luka and LeBron, for them to bring him in and go, oh man, this isn't good. I mean, he in his injury past, he's had a back issue. Evidently, it wasn't about the back, and reportedly, it's been about his knee and about his foot. And now you have two teams who are like, no, you take him. I don't know what the Hornets are thinking beyond. They really wanted to get that haul from the Lakers, but they basically, didn't they just tank any trade value that Mark Williams would have moving forward? At this point, you got to hope he gets healthy and plays.
I mean, you just said it. They and the Lakers have telegraphed to the other teams in the league, beware of this guy, stay away from this dude. And I think you make a great point too. The Lakers now, Rob Pelinka obviously thought he had a market opportunity with Williams. Good for him. But their flexibility and what they can do in the summertime, and I think really their ability to assess the team with Luka and LeBron for the remainder of the season, maybe Luka/LeBron just carries you in a way that we've seen Luka carry teams before. And frankly, we've seen LeBron carry teams before, but he's a different version of himself now, still really good. So that, there's a goal this year, a hope maybe things can happen. But you also just have an assessment period where you can make some decisions with some more time and some more flexibility in the summer. I think it keeps coming up Rob Pelinka. I don't know what karma he's done, what wonderful things, but everything. He should get to Vegas and put some money on roulette, because it's all coming up Pelinka.
It keeps coming up Pelinka. It also keeps coming up, defying logic, Jimmy Butler. He keeps wiggling out of these situations, Bill, and landing in good spots and getting paid money. And man, has he looked good for the Golden State Warriors. We're going to discuss that after another quick break. This is Beyond the Arc on CBS Sports Network. All right, welcome back to Beyond the Arc. A reminder, you can find us on YouTube at Beyond the Arc CBS. Please hit a like button, leave a comment, subscribe, and the little bell symbol. If you click on that, you'll get notified when we go live. We've been doing a ton of live content, post-game shows, things of that nature, so click on that. All right, Bill. Jimmy Butler to Golden State. You and I, a little skeptical, felt like a fallback option. Initially, they were trying to get KD, and Jimmy wanted to go to Phoenix. And then all of a sudden, Jimmy lands in Golden State. And I've watched the last two games eyes wide open on this for two different reasons, but we're going to start with the Jimmy Butler reason. Bill, he's looked exceptional. This is the guy that led the Miami Heat to 2 finals, and you're like, oh, wow, yeah, you could really see how this makes sense for the Warriors. He was awesome in a win at the Bucks last night, went for 29 and 6. He was awesome in the first game that he played for the Warriors against the Bulls. This makes sense.
And by the way, what a nice scheduling happening for the Warriors, because you've got the Bulls, you've got a no Giannis. But so you also like good vibe. I like the vibes. Once you gave me the vibes title, I'm gonna hit the vibes in every show we do.
I love this for
vibes
you.
Number 4.5 over under. How many times does Ryder bring up vibes? And the thing is, it's liberated Steph and Curry. I mean, like, Steph looks so good. And as a reminder, it is not rocket science to succeed in Golden State. Give number 30 what he needs to be effective. And you're right, Jimmy Butler doesn't look like he is playoff Jimmy. And I said this yesterday in the pod, so I won't belabor it. There's a cycle, right? There's a cycle to Jimmy Butler. Jimmy shows up. There's a honeymoon period. He's really great. Then there's sort of a bit of a tailing off, and then Jimmy gets mad and Jimmy has to leave. There's no guarantee that's not going to not happen for the Warriors in a year or two. I mean, he's there for a while. But the honeymoon period, and I think you were the first one who pointed this out to me, just reminded me, the endings are bad, but the beginnings are usually really, really good. And if you can inject this Jimmy Butler, who helped, or some would say carried, the Heat to 3 conference finals in 5 years and 2 finals appearances, maybe the sky is more of a limit than we thought. I mean, maybe there is no limit if this version's with Steph Curry. I'm not quite at the place I am with the Lakers where it's, maybe, but I'm sort of recalculating my expectations for what the ceiling is for the Warriors, because Jimmy Butler has been exceptional, and if he's exceptional, it unlocks so many things about Steph Curry that we take for granted. It had been hard for him to carry this year without help.
Yeah, the beginnings for Jimmy are pretty much always good. I mean, he went to Minnesota. The beginning was great. The ending was bad. Goes to Philadelphia, limited time, but they were, a 4-bounce, all-time shot by Kawhi from advancing to the Eastern Conference Finals. And then who knows, it goes to Miami, as I mentioned, takes them, 2 teams that really had no business going to the finals, went to the finals, and now he goes to Golden State, and you can see the promise here. Bill, in the first 2 games, he got, what I love about this is, one, for sure, it gives you another closer, where previously it was basically like, okay, everybody, all these parts are looking around going, right, hey, we're useful like during the game in these hockey line shifts that Steve Kerr just can't quit. But at the end of the game, it's got to be Steph, because if it's not Steph, we have nobody else to do it. Now you've got another closer in Jimmy Butler. He's somebody who can really help you salt away games. That's important. He also, Bill, he got wherever he wanted in these first 2 games. I know that it was the Bulls and then the Bucks without Giannis. He shot 28 free throws over the last 2 games, which is remarkable. And then importantly, and this is crucial, and I know that our podcast producer, Aaron, who is watching and is a massive Golden State Warriors fan, really wanted to point this out. Steph looks free again. We talked about the gravity that Steph has for everybody else.
Yeah.
Right? Well, now Jimmy is producing that same gravity. Well, not the same gravity, but a not insignificant amount of gravity for Steph, who, by the way, Bill, has scored 72 points in these 2 games with better than 50% shooting. All of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, if I could get just like a little sliver of daylight, I'm going to be the absolute assassin shooter that we've always seen Steph. He looks like he's really thrilled with this as well.
Beyond debate, this is the best player Jimmy Butler's ever played with. I mean, sorry, Joel Embiid, but this is the best player Butler's ever played with. Even this version of Steph is the best version. And maybe I'm getting into sort of captive of the moment territory here, but if this Jimmy Butler, this playoff Jimmy we're seeing in this honeymoon period, is the version that the Warriors get this year, right? This year, regular season, and whatever they do in the play-in or the playoffs, I don't know where that ranks for guys Steph has played with, because Draymond has been pretty important and miraculous in his way. And there was a time before Clay's injuries where he, I think, was the best 2-way player maybe in the NBA and didn't get the credit for the defensive end of that. But this is a pretty high level of a partner for Steph Curry. This isn't just some guy who comes in and, okay, we have some offense. This is a player in Jimmy Butler who has literally been capable in the past of either carrying teams deep into the playoffs by himself or being that sort of, it's alchemy sometimes, and that missing ingredient that kind of brings it all together. And you put that with Steph Curry, and I don't want to get too carried away, but the early returns are really, really incredible for Golden State.
I would like to get carried away. After 2 games last night, I was talking myself into, hey, I think the Warriors could be something here because, look, we saw the standings earlier. The Warriors are now in 10th place in the Western Conference. The Suns are, talk about bad vibes. The Suns are on the outside looking. I don't think that they're going to make the play-in. That thing looks like it's coming apart at the seams. All of a sudden, Golden State now has a plan and an identity, and like you can see what they could potentially be. I like them better than the Mavs. I like them better than the Kings right now, who are still trying to figure out where they're going to get any defense from. Some other team, the Clippers, probably. I like them better than the Clippers. This is a team now, I don't expect them to make the Western Conference Finals, but all of a sudden you go from, I'm not sure that the Golden State Warriors should even make a move because, what can they realistically achieve? And are they even going to make the play-in, to now all of a sudden, after the top 5 in the Western Conference, obviously the Thunder won with a bullet. Then you've got the Grizzlies, the Nuggets, the Lakers, and the Rockets. After that, I'll take the Warriors over the Clippers, the Wolves, the Mavs, and the Kings. Yep. Right now, absolutely.
I mean, can you imagine? I know you'd have to have the Lakers really just like continue on a tear, but I was thinking last night, can you imagine if somehow the Lakers got to the 2 seed and the Warriors were able to be the 7 or 8 and win the play-in, and we could have a Lakers Warriors showdown in the first round of the playoffs? You could guarantee me that the NBA Adam Silver is somewhere in the lab trying to figure out how to do that. Yeah, and by the way, let me just point out that, since some people hate this, Jimmy Butler won. Like, apologies to Mike Dunleavy Jr. for the doubts that you were being too desperate. This is why you surround Steph this is why you're desperate, because if you put the right piece, a great piece, and Jimmy has been that so far with Steph, things can happen. And also, right or wrong, whether he should, Jimmy Butler won. And I don't know that I anticipated, and he wanted to go to Phoenix, where, by the way, he would have lost and he would have been part of the debacle.
Yeah. Jimmy
Butler, what a Hail Mary he has somehow completed for himself after the long standoff with Miami. It's amazing.
This is a marriage of convenience that has somehow also worked out. Not to get too carried away after 2 games. I'm going to get a little carried away here. You also mentioned, why not? You also mentioned Adam Silver. So Adam Silver made some, I know you love All-Star break talk. But we got to get into the replacements here. And I'm gonna serve you your medicine with a little sugar in a second here. But the All-Star replacements were announced by Adam Silver. So Kyrie Irving will replace his new teammate Anthony Davis in the Western Conference. And then Trae Young will replace Giannis in the Eastern Conference. I thought Kyrie should have been a selection anyway. He's having a phenomenal season. So I thought that one made complete sense. How do we feel about Trae Young, squeaky wheel? He was complaining about not making it in the first place. He basically said, he put on social media when he didn't get named the first time around, he said, it's getting trade at this point instead of getting snubbed. It felt a little like squeaky wheel gets the grease, no?
Well, let me double down on yes, Kyrie Irving, I think could have and should have been an all-star in the first place. I don't know. I mean, Trae Young is talented. There are several people who were worthy of this. Congratulations. It does feel like the squeaky wheel a little bit. But by the way, he's a really dynamic player, and he's got some LaMelo Ball to him. Your favorite guy, John. I mean, he is fun to watch. He is exciting. He does have a bit of a chip on his shoulder. I like watching him play. And if it's an all-star game and part of it is the entertainment factor, sure, great. So, but you're right. I just don't care enough about the last all-star to get in to say, yeah, Trae Young got his revenge. I mean, good for him. I think for me, the bigger takeaway is Kyrie Irving deserved to be in. I'm glad that he's in. He's had a remarkable season, kind of under the radar. And I think that in a really crowded field, that was a deserved late addition.
All right. Well, so let me provide the sugar for the medicine here, because I anticipated this reaction from you. And the way that this is supposed to work, Adam Silver has previously said that he doesn't put his thumb on the scale with these things, that he just goes by the next guy up on the coach's vote. And you had mentioned Trae Young, big name. People like to watch him. He's controversial. He probably gets eyeballs on the product. Do you believe that he was actually the next guy up in the coach's vote? Or do you think a little conspiracy here that Adam Silver went, yeah, wink, wink. He was definitely the next guy up, and it wasn't, say, Tyrese Maxey or Jared Allen?
I will say that the wonderful people in the league office who I know and like and spend time with when I'm in New York can be a little sensitive. For example, if you or I were to make a Patrick Ewing cold envelope joke, this happened to me several times. I get text messages where I have to write back, A, I'm kidding, and B, I'm not really kidding, so I guess your text message was appropriate. So at the risk of bringing another one of those out, if you're watching in New York in a league office, no, I don't believe it for a second. Of course I don't. Maybe coincidentally, Trae Young was the next guy up, and he fits the parameters that the league, which is Adam Silver, right, running the league, want to try. They are, and by the way, credit to them for actually doing a new format. I was thinking about this last night too. Maybe I should offer a little more grace because the All-Star game has been abysmal, and I go to it and I cover the NBA, and I will. You like to joke, and it's true that I hate the All-Star game. That's probably proof positive that we should do something differently, and the fact they're being innovative is fine. So I understand why you would want to put your thumb on the scale and try to do every little thing that you can to try to just make it more interesting. And if that is pretending Trae Young was the next guy up, then I believe that would happen. And if it happened to, coincide with Trae Young being the most interesting guy available and he was the next up, that's fine too. But I'm not mad about it. But to answer your question, I don't necessarily believe it.
I also do not necessarily believe it. I had Tyrese Maxey as the next guy in. Although I will say Trae Young is having a good season because we've mentioned this before on the pod. I like that he changed his game at the request of Quinn Snyder to be less like shooting first, second, third, and all the time, and really trying to be a distributor this year and get his teammates more involved. That Hawks team, the wheels have come off a little bit, but when they're going well, it's because Trae has been a good distributor. Also, I'm also pleased it's just not LaMelo Ball. So thank you so much, Commissioner Adam Silver. One more quick break, then we'll do Team of the Night on the other side, wrapping up Beyond the Arc on CBS Sports Network. All right, welcome back to Beyond the Arc, wrapping up the show as we do every day with the Team of the Night leaderboard there. You can see the Warriors there leading our way with 7 selections, and then the Rockets. I have at least 5 of those selections here. Bill, I think you're going to go off menu from last night, so I'm going to start real quick. I'm just going to go with the Lakers. It's an obvious win. You roll out Luka Doncic. It was great vibes night. You get Dirk, the all-time best player in Dallas Mavericks history, who delivered them a championship and has a giant statue to come and sit courtside. Could not have gone better. They absolutely throttle the Jazz. Yeah, it's the Lakers. Great night for them.
So every year you have a team you love, right? If I had to send one NBA team a Valentine this year, because I don't get to spend Valentine's Day with my wife, thank you, Adam Silver, so I would like to spend it with the Spurs. So I'm going to send them a Valentine right now, Team of the Night. 61 points between Wembanyama and Fox, under the radar. I know there's other stuff going on. I just love this combo and I love this team, and I'm pushing them to the top of our Team of the Night leaderboards.
Yeah, they're super fun. I mean, you flagged them early. It's a bummer that you don't get to spend Valentine's with your wife. I just wanted to tell you real quick. One year, I spent it in Greece with Rick Pitino because Rick Pitino had been exiled to Greece, so I went over there to do a story on him, and we FaceTimed my wife from there. So yeah, the struggle is real when you're covering basketball and you don't get to see your spouse on Valentine's Day. Yeah, wish her happy Valentine's where we'll hear.
Love you, Lori. See you in a week.
There you go. See you in the week. All right, we're going to wrap up the show. That's going to do it for us today. Just a reminder, we will be back at it tomorrow at noon Eastern. Not with Bill. Somebody else will be in Bill's seat. Bill's got to do important Valentine's and NBA All-Star related stuff. But we'll also be live on YouTube. You can find us over there at Beyond the Arc CBS. But for now, for our NBA insider, Bill Ryder, I am John Gonzalez. We thank you so much for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow.